Hey there! I've been getting some great questions about how things were created for the Diagon Alley book nook, and was asked about the bricks in particular. I looked at the nook again and realized just how much foam I actually use in here. The walls, and the floor, and the steps, and the crates. So here we go! I'm going to cover some basic brick, stone, and wood textures that I used in here and in some of my works in progress. Links to the foams will be in the description below. Let's get started! First up, bricks. For most of the walls, I used a 5mm craft foam from Amazon. It's not a high density foam like super quality cosplay foams, but it works. I eyeballed what I thought would be a good height for the bricks and made myself some guidelines so I could have straight lines. As you've heard me say in every video, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going back in with my pencil and just marking out the individual bricks. Braver souls than me can probably do this all with a Sharpie or an X-Acto knife without the pencil marks, but I'm not ashamed. Time to cut! Grab your freshly sharpened X-Acto knife and go to town on the lines. Now for my favorite part, chasing foam around my work area as I try to heat it. But seriously, watching the cuts pull apart is so satisfying. Not bad with just heat, but I like to give it just a tiny bit of texture with crumpled aluminum foil while it's still hot. Just a tiny bit for me here, but feel free to go crazy with it for a really cool old brick look. Here it is in the nook. I used this technique for all the bricks in Diagon Alley, from the entrance to the leaky cauldron with the red bricks, to the gray bricks on the apartments. On to the second. For this one, I'm going to do some really old, worn, stepped-on cobblestones. The kind you see in old streets in European villages where time seems to have just stopped. It's 5mm foam again, because we're going to be pressing hard and getting a deeper texture. I'm doing a fish scale look for half of it. Spoiler alert, this is what I did for my Nocturne Alley nook. After cutting the edges of the scales, grab a ballpoint pen and get ready for hand crimps. I'm just going in here and using the pen to draw the gaps between the stones. Think of it more like defining the spaces in between instead of defining the actual edges. I tried doing this after heating the foam a little, and it is a lot easier to get the foam to compress, but I couldn't work fast enough. Reheating it over and over made the older definition fade more than the newer, so I went with the hand cramp option. So technically this technique is a 2-for-1. I'm doing a second cobblestone look on the other side. This one is definitely better looking when it's painted, I promise. We're just doing weird amoebas all over it. This isn't an expensive street like the fish scale one. This is just a bunch of stones that happen to be there and people made it work. They don't fit together perfectly, they've got huge gaps that are filled with sand and gravel. The magic of painting helps visualize this, and they're just functional. I did this for part of the Diagon Alley street. You could probably use a ball tool or other rounded tool for this as well, but this is a great use for those ballpoint pens we all have that are dead, but we've never actually tossed them. Heat time again. I should probably make a shallow cardboard corral to keep these things from flying around. See how the ballpoint texture is softer looking on the edges than the cuts? When it's painted up, it catches washes and dry brushing very differently. I used these two techniques as the floors in Nocturne Alley and Diagon Alley. When it's painted up, it has a much more worn-in look, don't you think? Okay, number 3. I just call this one Pretty Wood. Again, starting by going in and measuring the planks. Wide planks on this one. I really like the look of skinny planks, but we're doing wide because I like doing lots of knots and things. This is definitely a little thick of a texture for a floor, but it's cool for a wall or the outside of a structure. This part is a lot like the bricks, but longer. Step 1, we have planks, but now we need some texture. I like having reference images for woods so I can see what the different gnarls and knots look like. It's mostly cutting long, slightly wavy lines. The lines generally follow each other. It's like you're looking at tree rings from a weird angle, which you are. The knots are spaces where two lines slightly diverge and then come back, and you can put more rings in the middle. So I like to script these videos so I don't go off on a tangent and forget what I was going to say, and my script says, insert stuff about heat here, so blah 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 blah, heat it and stuff. You get this part. I don't have an example of how I use this at the moment. I tried it for the edge of the diagonally nook at first, but decided I wanted to use the thinner foam for a little bit more roughness. Spoiler alert for technique number 6. We're on 4 now. This is a different foam, 2mm, that I got on Amazon as well. This is another version of wood, but this is a little more subtle and definitely depends on the paint to make the look work. I use this as flooring in one of my in-progress nooks. I'll show you later. I like to glue it to the cardboard, or wood, or whatever base you want to use first. Thin foam, especially the low-density ones, move around a lot and shrink kind of unpredictably. Gluing it first with a little extra wiggle room ensures you can cut it down to the perfect size later. With rubber cement, you want to make sure both sides have just a thin coating and they get to dry before you stick them together. I'm doing a herringbone pattern on this one and really lightly scoring the planks. I should have probably done a couple zigzags more, but then this would be a much longer video. The texture on this is really light. Again, we're just going to let the paint be the hero here, but it's nice to have that little bit of texture. Be really careful not to cut all the way through the foam. You'll see why on the final texture. Again, more heating stuff. It's wrinkling a little on one side where the glue wasn't quite dry, but that's okay. We'll just squish it later. Squish time! Et voila, a lightly textured herringbone floor ready for painting. I did a chevron floor with this same technique for my nursery nook. It's got a few different shades of browns and reds, so the pattern really stands out, but the texture is super light. Number 5. This one is so versatile and so painfully easy. Let's move everything else out of the way because we're doing heat. I'm using the 5mm foam again because you can get super deep textures. Grab some aluminum foil, preferably clean, but no judgment, and crumple it a little bit. Not a ton. Heat up your foam until you see it get that little heat shine and it's warm. Then squish with the tinfoil. This is a great texture for stucco or leather by itself, and you can do this to any stone or brick to give it more grittiness like we did earlier. See? Told you that was easy. Number 6, last one. We're back to the 2mm foam again, but this time it's 2 layers of 2mm. However, we're not doing a nice full coverage of the rubber cement this time. Just a little bit. And we're not trying to cover everything. As you can see, there are gaps in the cement in the middle, and a lot of the edges aren't covered. This is going to be a really cool beat-up wood. This is the technique I used for the diagonally crates. Just like the last wood one, we're cutting planks, but this time we're going all the way through the top layer. When we heat this, the edges of the planks where there wasn't glue are going to pull up and warp. giving it a look like wood that's been wet and then dry and then hot and then cold for years. You can go a little deeper on the texture of the grain, especially since this brand of 2mm foam can lose light details, and we need this one to really stand out. Just make sure you don't go all the way through on the texture, just the edges of the planks. This 2mm foam flies, so I usually try to keep it contained with my ruler. I tried tape once, but the tape melted and it was a complete mess, and I just don't feel like going through that again, so I'll chase it with a ruler. Look how cool this is! Look how it's warping! I'm straightening it out a little with my hands to get it decently flat without losing the curly edges. Isn't this cool? It looks like the boards are so old they're peeling up. Here's a little side-by-side with the crate I made for Slug and Jiggers. The peeling edges really make it look like it's weathered. They trap a lot of wash when you paint, so it's great for dimensionality. And that's it for today! There are so many things you can do with foam. It's definitely one of my favorite materials since it's cheap and lightweight. If you like this tutorial, give it a like! I love reading all of your comments, so let me know if you try these out, or if there's something else you'd like me to make a video for. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one!